I'm live. I'm going to trust that I'm live, actually. Hello, everyone. I know I didn't create an event for this week's podcast because I'm solo, um, but know that I will show up at 11 a.m. Eastern Time every single Thursday for a podcast, whether it's a guest, an activation, and will always come and be present for you because this is my gift to you. This podcast is my gift to you. And today, I would love for someone, if you pop on, to say hello. I would like to do an activation and really connect with the element of water and share a few things with you. And so, if you don't have your water, get your water. I have a big giant coffee cup, but it is water in here. And let's get comfy and let's just hang out for a little while. Immediately following this in the Water Wizards group, if that's where you're watching from, there will be a live question and answer session about the business aspect of what I do to support all of my mission work. Because though I would love to show up free for you all every single day, every single time, I'm living in a 3D world and I need to maintain a home and take care of my children. And so there's a business running in the background. You just don't know it because I don't like to talk about that all the time. So get your water, get comfy. Let's connect with our water as we always do and set the intention that all of the codes that flow through as we channel our essence to one another, they flow into our cup of water and activate, amplify, balance, and support us on this beautiful journey that we call life. So get your water, take a deep breath, and just see your heart field wrapping around your cup of water. And what are you manifesting? What are you calling into your life right now? Just intend to place that in this cup of water. Intend to amplify your magnetism to call that blessing into your life. It is the prayer and the answer to the prayer. Okay, take a drink. And I want to let you know a couple more things that are coming down the pipeline. Then I want to talk to you about some magic that has come through around drought and what water needs in order to be present in our lives and present on our lands. So I've been talking about, you may have heard, this charity called Charity Water that my community and myself lean into and highlight in order to support the building of wells in Africa so that people can have access to clean water. And I'm sure you've heard some stories. People walk long distances to get to water, and the water is not so clean. There's such a huge water crisis in Africa. And so I am actively working on really learning more about that charity so that I can bring the depth of knowledge that I want to share with you around that. And I'm leaning into a beautiful initiative for the first 6 months of 2024 to raise $10,000, which I believe the number is it will bring water, clean water to 100 communities. And so you will see that coming soon. I'm doing the research and I really want to honor that space and bring the fullness of the energy and the wisdom that is present in that space to you. So that is coming, I promise. Now, what I've noticed about myself is sometimes I forget that I'm one human being and I bite off a little bit more than I can chew. And I want to roll out all of these things all at once. So I appreciate your grace and patience, but know that I will keep showing up for you every single Thursday at 11 a.m. Eastern to support you in some way through this podcast that we call Water Wisdom. Okay. Let me just open that space and see what wants to come through in the way of this wisdom about water, through water, through us as us, to seek to understand the frequency and the vibration and the desire of water, which is source, in order to open up and call into our lives more profoundly, more richly, more deeply source energy, and to activate that in the lands of the entire planet. And so I happened upon this amazing information around water and the patriarchy. And when I talk about patriarchy, I mean the not positive patriarchy, like this disempowered masculine energy that is actively shifting on our planet, but still currently out of balance. And we notice through war and drought that this energy is getting louder and louder and louder right now. And so it appears to us on the physical 3D plane as if things are not changing and things are not getting better. However, know that the bigger energy that is present, source, spirit, God, our souls that are 100% immune to harm, right? Our soul cannot be harmed. That these higher frequency energies on planet and off planet are actively helping us to shift out of the inversion that we have experienced for so freaking long. Understand that as it's leaving, it gets really loud because the powers that were are going out kicking and screaming. And so I say this because it's like, hold the frequency. Keep doing the individual work that you all are showing up to do to help shift your own life and shift the planet. It is not in vain. Sometimes you feel like you're moving like a flipping snail in this life and in the world around you, right? Like witnessing what is happening. But it really, from an energetic perspective, is all happening very, very swiftly. And because we are in a human vessel, because we are living in human bodies that have experienced so much trauma and drama through all space, time, and dimension, with those ancestral ties, that if it happens too quickly, our physical vessel cannot withstand the shift. And so notice that when we had the divine pause, that was, I didn't even want to say the word, that thing that happened a couple years ago that some of us had to get the jab for, it was a divine pause. And this is a perfect indication of how that which appears to be negative, source will always use for a positive. Because a lot of people, depending on what timeline you're living on, a lot of people really suffered during that time. And my point is, they exited. Because the frequencies that we are shifting into, that we have been shifting into, that we continue to be shifting into, they could not integrate. And so they were done. And some people appeared to exit like out of nowhere, right? Like how did that happen so swiftly? Oh my gosh, they were so healthy. It appeared that way. But when we look at health from a perspective of body, mind, and soul, there was some sort of disconnect, some sort of contract that they were ready to exit. And so that was like a mass exodus for those who were not prepared, or those not prepared, those who did not desire to work with the frequencies of what we are currently experiencing, because things are moving really fast. And if you're not integrating and you're not experiencing and you're not able to feel and see the speed with which we are moving, you need to connect more deeply with the earth, with the water, with the elements, with yourself. I'm not saying to exit and always go into meditation and fly somewhere to connect. I'm saying connecting in the now moment with the earth, with the animals, with the waters in your immediate vicinity. I don't care if it's a retention pond, go to it. A retention pond down the street is just as powerful as the ocean if you choose to believe that. Just like an individual is just as power as a giant collective if you choose to believe that. Okay, take a breath. It's flowing. Take a breath. If you're here, say hi in the comments. I would love to connect with your energy. Okay, deep breath. Okay, so this is taking us into what is the connection between the imbalance and the surplus of patriarchy, of disempowered masculine energy on our planet. And mistake me not, I'm not talking about men. This energy is present for both women and men. It doesn't have to do with gender, right? We all carry the masculine and feminine polarity within us. And for so many of us, I included, I really have to be intentional about staying in my feminine energy or balancing that out. So many of us are intentionally trained by the Matrix program in countless ways to stay in our disempowered masculine energy. What does that mean? That means that we are operating from a space of fear instead of love, a space of grind instead of allowing, a space of constant doing, go, go, go. How many things can I get done? Instead of taking aligned action that flows through the heart and is implemented through the brain. What is happening for us when we're operating from this masculine space, and I, as a mother who is the primary caregiver for 3 children, can totally identify with this. For most of my life and most of my parenting life with my kids, I have unknowingly, unconsciously been in my masculine energy because I felt like I had to control what was happening to them, to me, instead of for them and for me, right? I was grinding to hit the numbers. I've got to hit the numbers so that I can pay the bills, as opposed to breathing, softening, and allowing that bigger part of me, spirit source energy, to flow through my heart and be activated through my mind. And so what happens for many of us is we allow in divine inspiration, and then it gets stopped at the brain. Like the brain sticks us, right? You're like, oh, and you start overthinking it, you start doubting it, you start going into fear, you start comparing yourself to the world around you. That was never how it was meant to be. That's a heart-mind disconnect. That is a heart-mind disconnect. And so our goal is to drop into the heart, let everything flow through the heart, not through the brain first. You let it flow through the heart. You sit, and how do you do that? You sit with it. You sit with it. And it can be so simple. You just have to be consistent and intentional. You sit with the feeling. You sit with the intuition. You really come into presence with the now moment and literally see yourself sitting inside your heart. And as thoughts come in, you tell your mind, I'm good. Rub yourself, rub your arms. I'm safe. I'm good. We are safe. We are safe. We are retraining our nervous system. We are safe. And you breathe. You can do this now if you want. And be fully present. And when we choose to do this consistently, intentionally, it ripples through the collective. It seems so simple and so small, but if we could see the energy ripple, mind blown, heart blown, we may burst into flames seeing it, because it would be so powerful and activating. And so in the simple, mundane tasks throughout your life, cooking a loving meal for your family, taking a walk and saying hello to the trees, going to a stream or any body of water and just setting the intention, I'm connecting with the waters right now, calling in the light to anchor in source light into all of these spaces, these trees, the animals, ourselves. It makes a massive difference in the world. You are actually energetically opening the door for someone who wasn't ready. You are readying someone in that moment. You have no clue how, maybe you do. Maybe you do. I want you to know. I want to know. I have no clue how powerful I am. Like, we are just now opening the door to this. And so, as we're working with balancing this masculine feminine energy within us, it is about how am I moving through my life every single day? You know when you're out of balance. You know when you're doing too much. You know when you've overscheduled yourself. And you get to witness and observe that behavior from a place of non-judgment, and then make the tweak, make the change. Allow yourself to balance. If you're feeling stress in your body, if you're feeling anxiety, if you're feeling a pain in your hip or your foot or your knee, embrace that. Don't resist it and fight it. Witness that, yes, my body, what a beautiful, amazing, magnificent, miraculous vehicle, is screaming to me, it's time to slow down and stop. Call light into that space and call the light into your heart and ask for the divine guidance. It's like a muscle. This balancing, it's like building a muscle. This connecting with soul, it's like a muscle. The more that you do it, the more simple and easy it becomes to access that energy, right? And so as we do these small, seemingly small, but they're not really small, these seemingly simple, small things, activities, as we observe throughout the day in our own individual life and bring about that balance and invite in the stillness, invite in the now moment, the connection with the earth, we are amplifying the feminine energy within us in order to bring about that balance. And that balance starts with us, but ripples through the collective. And we are water, right? We are over 70% water within our bodies. The earth is over 70% water. Water is everywhere. And all of these spaces that don't appear to have water do have water, right? There's water in there. You may not see it, but there is water present in the lands, in the trees. It is everywhere, isn't it? It is literally everything. And so this is where we now talk about the patriarchy and the drought that is spreading across the earth. What has happened in countless ways within this inversion is what has been shut down is the invitation to water. And so we're seeing there is a direct correlation between places that experience drought and war, disempowered masculine energy. They've literally studied it and can see the correlation between warring areas or areas that have experienced war and desertification. And so energetically, what that translates to is water will experience pain if it experiences that disempowered masculine energy. And so it leaves. Water leaves. And so on a micro level, you will notice that when you're grinding, when you're going, when you're moving too much, when you're not being in the stillness, you tend to get dehydrated, right? Not only because you are not drinking enough water, probably because you're not paying attention to it, but because energetically you are forcing the water out of your body. because the invitation is not there. The energy is not appropriate to hold the frequency, to hold the element, to invite in the element, to maintain the element of water. And so now I want to talk about some of the other ways in the matrix that they have successfully in the past repelled this water, or led us to repel the water, which is its source. It is our life force, right? We need water. We need water to live. It has to do with what is referred to as desire to touch. Desire to touch. If there is not an invitation, a softness, a desire to be touched energetically within a collective, water does not want to be present. It actually hurts the water, and that's why it retreats. Let me give you specific examples. I want you to think about the program that is present within our schools. How do they treat the children? They sit at separate desks usually, and wow, that was all amplified during, everything that happened in 2020. They do not encourage kids to touch. Again, that was amplified, wasn't it? They put them inside of a building, disconnected from nature. Typically, the building is built from brick and metal, which actually shields us from receiving the light of source. Those harsh metals actually repel. Like, we want to live in wooden structures. Like, I'm in a wooden A-frame. I'm so grateful. So, source energy, the light of God, is literally repelled. Now, it's not completely blocked out because we are divine beings, but there is a reason that the buildings are built with the materials that they are built with, right? It is intentional. There is a reason that we have been programmed to believe that the best thing for us to do is to take our children, put them in a building for 7 hours a day, 5 days a week, and not be with them. There is a reason that we have been programmed to go to a job, 9 to 5, 12 to 12, 7 to 7, whatever, 12, 13-hour shift, whatever the rest of the world is still doing. And I'm so grateful that I don't have to do that anymore. And I'm like holding the space and the love and the vision for the future for anyone who is ready to get the F out of that system. It's all about disconnection. Technology. How can we disconnect people from one another? How can we disconnect families? How can we keep people isolated, right? And this has everything to do with drought within the body and drought throughout the lands. Isn't that interesting? Because when you look at a family that is loving and that family that hugs and loves and touches, they are typically more happy than the family that isolates themselves and everyone's going in their own separate direction. And so I can say from personal experience, in the past, just 5 years ago, when we were living that traditional kind of matrix life, and this is not a judgment, everybody's in the perfect space, right? It's all about awareness and presence and taking our power back, right? Most people are still living in that program, but to have awareness within the program is a whole nother level of power, right? Okay, so back to my personal story. I remember, all of the kids going to school every morning, my ex-husband going to work every day, me being at home usually with at least one kid because we just kept having babies, being at home alone. And it was like everyone would come home, and how many hours? Let's do the math. Well, I don't really want to do the math because I really don't like math. But my point is, like, you do the math and the amount of hours that we spend, with our nuclear family, with our extended family, it's teeny, tiny, teeny, right? Compared to the amount of time that we spend as an individual doing our individual masculine thing. And so perhaps you may embrace, what if, even if you're still doing the, working outside of the home, kids outside of the home, right? Right. Like I have a kid at school right now. What if once a day, as a family, you came together and sat in a circle? Outside would be even better, but even inside, sat and held hands for 60 seconds. Oh, you'd be amazed. You'd be amazed at what changes for your family, what changes for you, what shifts in the world around you. That simple invitation to touch for 60 seconds, I'm telling you, 60 seconds is powerful. And then you can build up, add another minute to it, or add 30 seconds to it in increments where you're doing it 5 minutes a day. My family and I try to do this with consistency. 3 minutes is usually what we do. And it's really funny because if you embrace the wiggles and the farts, like, the 9-year-old boy, like if you embrace that and just make it part of that fun process with them, there is a softening of energy for all of us. And when two or more come together, it is all amplified. So imagine these beautiful family members that you have soul contracted with to come into this world during this most powerful time, more powerful than we've ever experienced, ever. This lifetime is not like any other lifetime you have ever lived. Imagine the ripple effect that we can create by simple things like that, simple acts of kindness like that. And my kids didn't want to do it. They still don't want to do it sometimes. But you know what? When we do it, it shifts everything. And not only are you shifting your own family dynamic, you are shifting the entire planet. You are inviting the waters back into the earth. We are inviting abundance back into our world and onto the planet. Now, the last example that I want to share with you, and then we're going to do an activation and close out here, is this is an extreme one too. And I need to be careful how I say it so that it's not censored. So, and I don't even think I'm going to say the word. When a baby boy is born, this is extreme. This may cause some cognitive dissonance because I was like, oh my God, I never thought about that. But yeah, that's totally true. When a baby boy is born, traditionally, not all beliefs do this, but traditionally, it's the mainstream. Think about what happens to them. What do they do with that foreskin? And then we won't even go into the adrenochrome and all of that. Oh God, I just said a keyword that I shouldn't have said. Oh well, whatever. The message will get out. It doesn't matter. Like a big keyword, right? So okay, so silly. Think about what they do to that baby. Okay, it was done to my son. I didn't know. Now I wish it hadn't, but it's all perfect. It already happened. That I want you to think about that traumatic experience. That's mutilation. And, there are cultures who do female mutilation in that way. And, many people go up in arms about that and have for a long time, right? There are many movements to stop that. But what about this everyday modern practice that we are exposing our boys to? And what does that do to the trauma, to their body, the trauma that is stored in their body from that experience? And now let's talk about water, an invitation to touch. That's not an invitation to touch. That is a gross misuse of power that, so many doctors are doing. They don't really know the repercussions of that. And I want you to think about how they carry that unknowingly, subconsciously throughout their life. that trauma. And then I want you to think about the physical experience with a woman and how that is affected, that divine exchange of life force energy. This process is done to our boys intentionally. It's an inverted program so that it has an effect and dampens the ability to hit that bliss point simultaneously for male and female when they come together for that act. You know what I'm talking about. Premature, prematurity, all that jazz. Now, so then we think about then what happens with that energy, really suppressed anger and rage and lack of satisfaction in some way on both sides. Then that feeds into a whole dampening, breaking down of the partnership, the balance, the masculine and the feminine. This has everything to do with water. Everything to do with water. There are so many ways in which the matrix invites us to turn away from one another, to not touch, to ignore our own physical body. You know, one of the greatest practices that you can do for yourself that is super simple is just rubbing your body. This body is not ours. We are the consciousness, right? Like we are the life force energy within the body. This body is a set of components, cooperative components that said yes to co-create with our consciousness, to allow us to have a vehicle to move about on this earth plane, right? And you look at your hands and they came for the most tactile experience, right? And so as we learn to be with ourselves and not reach outside of ourselves, invitation to touch, desire to touch, that's what water needs in order to be present. The healing waters of the earth. So simple. Did you know you can literally change the world by caressing and touching yourself? That's what you're doing. You're inviting the water within to activate, amplify, grow on a micro level and on a macro level. It's a both and. Okay. I'm seeing all the beautiful comments. Thank you. Oh, thank you for the hair compliment. You know, hot tip. All I did was blow dry it a little bit and then twist it up and put it in a bun on top of my head and let it sit there for a couple hours and took it down and I've got a wave. So thank you so much. Juliana, hi, Monica. You've been such an inspiration for me on this journey. Thank you so much. Oh, I appreciate you so much. So much. Okay. Before we go, let's do an activation. And is this landing? Did that make sense for you? It came through really strong. And I was like, before we do the activation, do you know Dan Winters? Does anyone know Dan Winters? Dan Winters is, I believe he's a physicist. I don't know what his technical title is, but a genius is what he is. I really want to get him on the podcast. So if anybody has a connection, let me know. But I'm gonna bust out some reels to try and call people in because I've gotten a couple people on the podcast by doing reels about them, like really celebrating them and then tagging them and like, yes, I'll come on the podcast. Dan Winters, look him up if you want to go deeper on the physics of water. It's when I listen to him, I feel like I understand, maybe a third of it, but my soul knows, and something's always activated within me. And so he's the one who was talking about the patriarchy and water. And I was like, oh my gosh. And just divine inspiration came through as he was talking. So you can search that up on YouTube is where I found him. And he has a website and everything, but I'm going to get him. Dan Winters, he's super cool. It'll be a really cool conversation because he's very intellectual. He's got a great understanding of the galactic history of humanity, very well-rounded individual, but I'd love to play with, what questions I can ask him to really have him hone in on some very, very amazing magical information, because he's so smart and he knows so much that it's kind of like it's hard to ground in his information. And so I would love to be part of that process for everyone to bring you that magical information. Okay. Take a deep breath. This is going to be a really simple activation. And I want to bring us into our heart space and remind you that all of your power is in the now moment, and challenge you to, as you are witnessing your life as the observer, as you are maybe witnessing a baby play or watching your animal just be and just chill, or watching your child do a sport, or watching nature, watching a bird, or watching a lake or a stream. I'm going to challenge you to really be hyper present in that moment and to look for the tiny details that are showing up for you in that moment, and to really bring your mind back every time it tries to go, to work that muscle to be hyper present in the now moment, and to witness and recognize the ways in which you stray, the ways in which you numb out in that moment, to come back to the tiny detail that we're blessed with in every now moment. And now drop into your heart. It's only about intention. You don't have to see, feel, or hear anything. It's just about intention. Drop into your heart space. See yourself inside of your heart. It's a couple inches behind your breastbone. Go there now. Deep breath. And just be with your body. Focus on a body part that's craving the light. Maybe you have a small ache or pain. Calling the light into that space and calling the light into your heart space. Feel the breath move in and out. Notice the expansion in your belly. Feel the air moving through your nose, down the back of your throat, into your trachea, expanding your lungs. Go back into your heart, right there behind your breastbone. Feel the waters around you, the divine waters around you. And now I want to rock back and forth a little bit. Allow your body to shift and move if you need to. It's like the waves of creation are moving through our heart space. And in your mind or out loud, inviting the spirit of water in. Beautiful spirit of water, move through me, activate me, cleanse my body, cleanse my heart and my channel. And now notice that your future is in front of you. Don't go there. Stay in your heart space. Just be aware that your future is in front of you. And now notice that your past is behind you. Anahata. And now notice that the cosmos is above you. And the earth is below you. Just witnessing that, staying in your heart space. Now notice that everything that you desire to bring into the world is to the left of you. And the way in which it is expressed into the world is to the right of you. Stay in your heart. All of these energies present around you, realizing that your power is still right there at your core, in your heart space, in your physical being, inside of your body, inside of your heart space, inside of the now moment. That is where our power is, our inherent value. You are so worthy of all of the blessings that you desire and beyond the blessings that you desire. Beyond the beyond, the beyond, we invite in the gifts of Source. I want you to tap your heart space very gently with the 3 or 4 pads of your fingers. Just tap. Deep breath. And in your mind or out loud, you just say, I choose peace now. It's a choice. When we make it a choice, the programs that are operating within us no longer have control. Because they're there. Some of them are still there, waiting for us to transmute them. But we still get to choose joy, peace, abundance now. I choose easy. What about that one? I choose easy. Say it with me. I choose easy. Do you feel that in your body somewhere? Maybe you do. If you feel that in your body, keep tapping and breathe the light into that space. I feel it in my right hip. I'm calling the light into that space. It's all about intention. Open your chest, drop your shoulders, stop tapping. Feel the subtle vibration we've created on our heart space. See the ripple throughout our body, the ripple of easy, the ripple of ease and flow, the ripple of peace, the ripple of joy, and see that ripple out beyond our body into the world around us, magnetizing all of those people, places, and experiences that allow for ease and flow, joy, peace, magic, all of it. I choose. I choose. Start reminding yourself throughout the day when you go into that space of fear or doubt that can all be present. It can all be present, but you still get to choose peace now. Deep breath. Thank you so much for the engagement. I appreciate you so much. All right. If you're on a platform to like and share, subscribe, do it all the things, all the things. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a wonderful rest of your day. And a reminder, if you're in the Water Wizards group, if you're not, you can access a link on all of my social media. Come into the Facebook group. And I show up in here a lot. We're going to be doing a question and answer session live, Brooke and I, a beautiful friend of mine, a mentor of mine, about what I have running in the background to support all of this and allow me to retire from bedside nursing 3 years ago. So, all right, loves, have a beautiful day. I love you all so much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. This felt really, bye-bye.